Tell me all your names, baby. Tell me all your names, I need to know. Then I'll tell you mine, baby. Then I'll tell you mine, and we can go to pass the time. Shift paradigms, align our bodies with the sky till I am yours and you are mine. I'll do anything for you, yeah, I'll do anything for you. Baby, just say the word, and we make perfect sense, so God cannot resist, no. I could feel the urge to drop defense at my expense. Allow my body to ascend along with yours, let love commence. Close my eyes, embrace my matter. Swing my hips as if they bear the rings of Mama Saturn. Stretch my vertebrae so we can climb it like a ladder. And step into our world. Close my eyes, embrace my matter. Swing my hips as if they bear the rings of Mama Saturn. Stretch my vertebrae so we can climb it like a ladder. And step into our world.
For those who celebrate the new year, Happy New Year. If your new year begins in the spring, we're looking forward to that. However, Alex and I have decided to launch on this particular day because we wanted to have a deeper conversation about some of the subjects that have been swirling around regarding relationships. And personally, since we're not going video immediately, we're just using audio, we wanted to discuss sound vibration and incorporate that into our discussion about the energies and the vibrations of men and women, and when they're apart and when they're together. So basically, this is our introduction episode. It's our very first episode of 2023 on the Gregorian calendar, that is. And Alex Blucher has decided to be our host. Even though this is my YouTube channel, he has resurrected the idea of coming back online to speak to everyone that's been wondering what has been happening with Auset and how do you feel about polygyny and your polygyny videos. We decided that we're not going to talk about just polygyny, because the reason I sat back a little while on the conversation about polygyny is because I felt like there needed to be a little bit more education in our relating with one another. In other words, let's come out of graduate school, polygyny, and go back to grade school and just understand each other a little bit better. So Alex being the male principal.
Yes.
Alex, say hi.
Hello, good evening, everyone.
And myself being the female principal. Together we make Ma'at. Alex and I are not in a relationship. We're not even embarking upon a relationship. So we're starting out in kindergarten, really, with how to establish a relationship that has no preconceived ideas of turning into an intimate relationship. We're trying to establish a friendship. And we've been talking with each other for about a year or so, maybe a little longer, over the phone, long distance. Alex, where's your location?
My location's in South Florida, Miami, and the weather's always nice out here. And the way we connected, I was so intrigued by Queen Auset. I call her by Queen Auset, but yeah, I was so intrigued by her femininity that I know I needed to work on a few things on myself. So when I reached out to her, she definitely welcomed me with open arms, where when we have our conversations, just life perspective, sometimes both of our point of views are like, oh, I could understand why a man is thinking this way, or I can understand why a woman is thinking this way, or how she's feeling in a moment. But once again, this show is to be able to enlighten on just the basic needs. What do you think about that, Queen Auset?
I would consider it more of a demonstration, because I am not in the position of teacher, nor am I in the position of leader. I am attempting to be friends with as many people as I can, because I think that's a valuable relationship that sometimes we undervalue and don't appreciate.
Yeah.
We want to go straight into intimacy. And I think that that's where our biggest mistake has been. So basically, backing it on up, back to kindergarten, I would just like for Alex and I to be an example of a male principal and a female principal establishing a friendship and having conversations about everyday things that maybe others can understand a little bit and want to join us here at Pulsation Nation.
Yes, yes. Now, I want to go into the discussion on having friends with opposite sex now, obviously, because I think when it comes to like talking to my guy friends, we could talk about anything. And I think where society has placed things is that when speaking to opposite sex, there is something there that's kind of inadequate or makes someone feel inadequate. Don't really know the true reason, but I would like for us to talk a little bit more about that, of what can be the connection of just saying hi and giving you a compliment. I mean, is that going overboard as far as just giving a woman opposite sex a friend a compliment?
I don't think that's overboard. I do think that before a compliment comes, a regular greeting should happen, because sometimes men and women don't really agree with what a compliment is. So, where a man might be thinking a compliment is something that they think is innocent, a woman might see it as flirtatious or too direct or inappropriate, because we're in a very sensitive and delicate time right now. And the thing is that this prophecy of the female energy taking a different position in society was prophesized already by our ancestors. We can talk about that another time, but this isn't new. It shouldn't be a surprise that we're having challenges between men and women right now. It doesn't matter what nationality or race or culture you come from. It has been prophesied that this would happen. So everybody just needs to just sit back and relax and stop blaming each other, but just understand that I think we can navigate it, harmonically and peacefully. So before starting with a compliment, Alex, I think a proper greeting, a respectful greeting, like, greeting, sister, how are you? Or a beautiful day today. And it may sound corny or, redundant, but I think that, again, I'd like to remind everyone that we need to go back to kindergarten on how to relate to each other. We need to take baby steps. So that's how I feel about it. I would be more receptive to a man if he greeted me properly before he gave me a compliment.
So here at Pulsation Nation, we're definitely optimistic in discussing about our mission behind what is our goal throughout the year and infinity in what's important in life. And while discussing our mission here, we said, well, is there room for us to be able to create an atmosphere, a trusted atmosphere for sound vibration, human vibration, the earth and plant vibration, creating harmony in our relationships? As you may have heard before, relationships is not just a business relationship or most relationships are not just between a man and a woman, partnerships, but how can we carry ourselves daily to be sure that we are one with the universe? Okay. And I want to be able to fit in there that in understanding different types of vibrations, the frequencies, which is we have here the 528 hertz, repairs the DNA, full body healing, release inner conflict. The 741 hertz cleans and boosts immunity. And we have others that we could take our time and mention in here, but I just want to be able to clarify that.
Yes, Alex, I think that appropriately so. We're going to try to blend in these sound frequencies as we speak with one another, because we want to give people the full experience. Although you may not be getting a visual of us as we speak, it's almost a calling for you to search deeper and become more clear in your thinking and your listening skills. So, without the distraction of anything moving around in front of you, that you tap into that part of yourself that's unseen. That's the vibration. And if you will allow me, Alex, I'd like to go ahead and read what our ideals are on the purpose of Pulsation Nation. Is that okay with you?
Yes, that's okay.
Okay, we are in tune with divine frequencies, vibrating with nature, making music conversation, harmonizing our world together by restoring our human connections. What do you think about that?
That's so beautiful. I must say that isn't very important just to be in tune with ourselves. You know, our inner peace is so important. You may have heard a saying called the inner critic, criticizing yourself on a day-to-day journey, where it's like, why am I talking so down on myself? You know, what's very important? Be in harmony. What does be in harmony feels like? At least be able to understand if the weather is just right, how can we find the positivity out of that? You know, if the air is fresh, you know, how can we be able to find the positivity out of that? And now interacting with humans now, we all know there's different people in the world, but what are some of the things we can be able to collaborate and work together? What's your thoughts on that, Queen Auset?
Yeah, that's what we're meant to do. We're living in a society that has taken all of us around the world so far away from our natural proclivity to be in harmony with not just the universe, not just the planet and the trees and the animals and the plants, but we are so out of tune with each other. So if I had the ability to reset everything, I would reset everything starting with the human connection, because that's the beginning for us. When we come through the womb, we come into this world, the most important thing is the human connection. And nowadays, they finally recognize that when a baby is born, and they encourage you as soon as the baby's born, skin to skin. They didn't say that when I had my children. They didn't tell me that. And so just within my lifetime, humanity has started to reconnect itself. And this isn't new science. This is ancient science. And that's something that we have to recognize as well. Sound vibration is something that was around since the beginning of time. We were always using sound vibration for healing, for restoration, and for connection. You know, you can use the word vibe. You know, that's what we kind of wanted to call, that's what I wanted to call the program. But Vibe magazine kind of used that up, and that was pretty cool. I used to love that magazine. It was almost like the hip hop magazine for the West Coast, while the Source magazine was the hip hop magazine for the East Coast. Lots of words and interviews. And the Vibe magazine was big and plush with beautiful images, not so much text. So it's so indicative of the East and the West to me. But I would reset that. I would reset it back to the time when we understood human connection was important and we weren't so caught up in so many other things that take us away from that.
Exactly. One of the things I have taken time to continue to practice is being in harmony with the world, the universe. Universe was not something I was part of my vocab all the time. It's just something I just gotta be thankful for. We have the higher power. Everybody have a different, probably a religious thing that they may believe, but when you just look up, or you just, when the sun goes down and it's dark, you seeing those stars. Keyword I said, it's stars. But we know that there's other galaxies and planets and things like that are kind of work all together for a purpose. And connecting with Pulsation Nation and connecting with Queen Auset allow me to see another opportunity of purpose in life. Not to say I was going to give up on life, but it was just after straightforward, after the Christianity or a religious belief, like, is that all it? And when I was brought about the Afrocentric, I heard of it, but not the terminology, not the laws. And I was like, you know what? I have some more reading to do. And it allow me just to calm down, take my time, respect other differences, perspectives, because I don't know something, doesn't call upon me just to talk down on myself as being inadequate, but just to have that room of learning more material. So my thanks is definitely to the universe and harmonizing with people in the world, that anybody know, just watching a butterfly just fly freely in your vicinity is, to me, that's peaceful. But what is peace in to you that's listening? What is that peace? What is that thing of not giving up in life to you, where you think you should give up, but you should not? I don't think anyone should give up. They should be able to live freely all the way till that time is near. And there's still others that say that when you're gone, you're technically not gone. You live on. So a lot was said there, but Pulsation Nation, piggyback to our mission here is to have that foundation and ways for us to connect.
I agree. And conversation is so important because it does create a vibrational frequency around ourselves and around the people that are listening to us. And I think it's a lost art. We're not having enough conversations. I remember when I was in high school, there was something called a debate team. And debate sounds confrontational to people, but in truth, it really isn't. It's really the opportunity for people to challenge their thinking skills, their speaking skills, managing their emotions while they're speaking. I think it's almost critical that we take ourselves back to that type of understanding and listening. And there's a lot of pseudoscience going around that people attach themselves to about conversation. And I think it's to our benefit to figure it out for ourselves and not just migrate towards some psychological, sociological idealisms that may not be in harmony with our indigenous cultures. Because I've heard people say things like, well, you're not having a conversation with me. You're just waiting for your opportunity to speak after I speak. And that's actually what conversation is. You wait until a person comes to the end of their sentence with a period, which is supposed to be distinctive. You're supposed to be able to hear when a person comes to the end of their sentence and they stop or pause, full stop, period. And then you continue on with the conversation, either by adding to what they have just said, contributing to what your ideas are, without the attachment of how the person receives it or whether or not they change their mind. I think that's important, Alex. And when you and I are having conversations, we've been having them on a regular basis. And rarely, if ever, I can't recall one single time really that we had a challenge with that. You know, you're a good listener, you're a good speaker, and we kind of have that harmony, which is why I'm hoping that this particular demonstration of male female conversation is beneficial to people.
I agree. And I just want to have a disclaimer on behalf of the masculine energy out there. I am not speaking on behalf of all masculine energy. I just want to be able to elaborate that when educating myself as a brother in this world, it is important for me just to understand different perspective and just piggybacking just a little bit on when Queen Auset and I have these conversations. We had like a whole good hour of just talking about women hairs and creativity, and it blew my mind just to understand why women take so long to get ready. And I was like, well, okay, I understand now. Let me zip my mouth. Let me not disrespect another woman, feminine, even if it takes her 3 hours or on average, or 2 hours on average. Let me just zip it, because now I understand the dynamic of what Queen Auset was sharing. Of course, she's not speaking on behalf of all women, but we kind of get an idea on the balanced line of things of how things work in this world. We may want to disagree, but there is major conversation that can just let's just talk about it, and let's not be able to judge off the bat because someone is expressing their experience and not throwing out their judgment.
Exactly. That's real important. And we're back, and we'd like to thank a lot of the viewers over the years that have come and made comments, respectful comments regarding a very controversial issue, polygyny, and have been asking for me to come back, wondering what I'm doing, what I'm thinking, why I haven't made a video in so long. And we're just going to go right to Sister Z. She wanted to know, how are you now, sister? Your videos are very helpful for me, and I see that they are 10 years old. How are you? She also said your voice is so calming. Thank you for the compliment, Z. I really appreciate it. I've heard that from people a lot about my voice, and I guess that's why Alex thought it would be a great idea for us to come back using our voices. And over the past 10 years, I have contemplated whether or not I should be speaking about polygyny at all. I felt very strongly about it when it was introduced to me, and I thought that it could be a solution to a lot of our relationship and family issues, also our economic issues. It was presented to me by my best friend, and it was in a very friendly manner. And a woman coming to me with that idea made me really look at it a different way. And then I started realizing there were other women in the world, like Patricia Dixon, who authored the book I Want for My Sister, What I Want for Myself, African American Women Who Practice Polygyny by Consent. And then also Sobonfu Some. She's from Africa. I forget the name of the country. Wife of Malidoma Some, in her book, The Spirit of Intimacy. They both speak about polygyny in such a pleasant way. Sobonfu says, in my country, we welcome polygyny because a woman wants to bring more festive energy into her home. And that's paraphrase because I don't think she used the word festive, but she just said happy energy, joyful energy. And that was her perspective. And in her culture, that's what they did. And I was like, that is the way it's done. And it's done by the woman welcoming other women. It's not done in a manner that makes a woman feel disempowered, makes her feel objectified, makes her feel like she doesn't have any say so in her religion. Her relationship, which has nothing to do with religion, but that just popped out. So that's why I haven't spoken about polygyny. I just didn't want to talk about it anymore. I felt like it was being exploited once again. It started out with me speaking to women, and then it turned to men, taking advantage of the fact that women were starting to wake up to the idea of having a sisterhood in their home that doesn't go home at night, that doesn't have other children and another man that she has to attend to. Therefore, I'm just left on my own in my own household. Women started to really say, hey, I could do this. This sounds great. A sisterhood in my home. And, once women started waking up and opening themselves up to the idea, the men quickly jumped on board and started taking over the movement. And actually, I was getting more and more messages from sisters like Z that were saying, your videos really opened me up, and I decided to try it with my husband because he's been talking about it. Because some religions, men in certain religions, have been told that this is their birthright, to be in a polygynous relationship. And so the women started to open up, and the men started to have relationships with women outside of the relationship without including the wife's consent, and then bringing the woman into the home after a baby has already been born, sort of forcing the wife to have to deal with the man's decision about who is brought into the house. So I was like, wow, this is happening more and more. I was getting more and more of those messages from women saying, help, this has gone too far. One woman was even replaced, kicked out, children taken from her, everything, by the woman that was being brought into the home. Wow. And women were not really dealing with their jealousy issues. They're bringing their jealousy. The men were dealing with favoritism, and it was just getting out of hand. And I started to feel responsible for that. And it was weighing heavy on my heart. So I shut down my entire YouTube channel for years. People kept asking for me to bring it back up. I would bring it up, and then I'd shut it down again when I'm thinking that while looking for employment, employers would see it and be discouraged from hiring me. So there's been several reasons. Alex and I thought it would be a great idea, since we are not speaking for all men, and I'm not speaking for all women, and I'm not an expert on polygyny, and I'm not an expert on relationships, that we should provide a reading list to help people to understand our thought process. Most of the books that we will be providing as a bibliography, I have read, and Alex has read, and perhaps even we've studied, because most of the books that are nonfiction require a bit of studying and practice and not just reading. And that applies to the very first book that has helped to shape my thought processes on relationships. I did mention a couple books in this episode, but we're going to save those to elaborate on later as an introduction book. The Medu Volume 1 by Ra-Un Nefer Amen is very helpful, helping to understand ourselves better so that we can make good friends and eventually have good relationships with one another. I think that's tremendously important, understanding your mind, your body, and your spirit, and your union with the universe. I think that's kindergarten education. Although it may not seem like it when you look at that book or read that book, it's where we should all begin. That's Medu Volume 1 by Ra-Un Nefer Amen.
Well, this ends our first episode of Pulsation Nation, Queen Auset.
Thank you, Alex. It's been a lot of fun. It's been fun to reconnect with my YouTube audience. They've been so loyal and so patient. I thought it would just go away, but you guys wouldn't let me. And I appreciate that. That's all love. And I appreciate all the respect and all the kindness. And I would love for love to be the answer for everyone. So have a very loving, harmonic rest of your day and rest of your week until we see you next time.